He pulled up at the light on Sunset and stepped out before the horn. Behind him, even finished suit, perfect hair, perfect. The whole billionaire thing turned down to a hard stare. And he didn't look at me first. He looked at my twins, the way Gabriel's brow pinches when he's curious, and the way Michael's smile leans a little left. And I watched Tyler Morgan recognize his own face on two 5-year-old boys, while I stood behind a churro cart, pretending my hands weren't shaking. I put a hand on each kid's shoulder like a seatbelt. I said soft but sharp, "Not here," and pointed at the coffee shop across the street, 15 minutes. Because if we were going to blow up 5 years of silence, we weren't doing it on the sidewalk with hot oil snapping and someone yelling for extra sugar. I got the boys upstairs to Mrs. Celia, tied the tarp, locked the wheels, crossed the street with my heart pounding so loud. I felt it in my teeth, sat across from him under bad cafe lighting, and said it before he asked, "Yes, Tyler, they're yours." He didn't make a scene, he just swallowed and asked the one question that hurts either way, you answer it. "Why didn't you tell me so?" I told him all of it in a straight line so I wouldn't cry, the night he lost a contract. And I made him coffee and we crossed a line. We couldn't uncross the morning after, when he went quiet, and stayed late at the office the 3 times I tried to speak, and the 3 ways I chickened out the day he brought a perfect woman into the house to be good for the company. The way shame crawled up my throat until I couldn't breathe. The 2 a.m. bus to New Mexico, the cheap room, the C-section that almost went wrong. The twins learning to sleep to the hum of a box fan, the way I told myself I was protecting them from a story that would eat them alive. You know what I mean. He said he looked for me, said my note was a knife, said his mother. Shut the door on him 3 times, and I believed him. And I didn't, because belief doesn't undo anything. It just makes the regret louder. And still I said we would do this slow for the kids, not as a headline and not as a flex. And that plan lasted until midnight, when Michael's chest turned into a locked door and the inhaler key didn't fit. I grabbed both boys and ran for the ER with my heart in my throat, and I don't even remember calling Tyler. I just remember him saying, "Which hospital?" And then he was there in a voice, and then he was there in a body, paying the lady without asking the price, standing by the bed like he'd been there forever, not barking orders, just steady a hand on our son's hand, a voice in my ear in an hold out, and hold until the wheeze loosened and color came back to Michael's lips. The nurse asked if he was the father, and I could have lied. I could have said, "Friend." I could have said, "Nobody but you reach a point where hiding is just another kind of harm," so I said yes, and I watched the word land in him like oxygen. Around 2 a.m., Gabriel looked up from his coloring, studied Tyler like a judge, and said the question that should have been a sentence. "Then where were you?" And Tyler didn't dodge, he said. "I didn't know you existed. I should have seen your mom. I should have seen everything. I can't change last night or 5 years ago. I can be here now." And Gabriel nodded just once, the way kids do when the truth is ugly, but at least it's true. For a week he showed up not with flowers or speeches or a helicopter, but with breakfast burritos at 6, with a willingness to push the cart up our awful stairs, with an extra set of hands at bath time, and the kind of patience you can't fake during a nebulizer treatment that takes too long, yeah. That happened, and it made me angrier than I expected, because showing up is so simple and so rare that when you finally get it, your brain claws at the years you didn't. His mother, Helen, tried to handle it like a scandal at first, all reputation and investors in her eyes, until she met the boys and figured out lineage looks a lot like 2 kids eating popsicles on her perfect patio, and she softened in that quiet way some hard women do when love gets past their security system. Then Tyler made the mistake men with money make when they panic. He bought a house, keys pool brochures that say words like community, and tried to hand me a future like it was an apology with granite countertops. And I told him what I'm telling you. You don't get to buy a family, you earn it with mornings and boring Thursdays. You earn it with the right to be tired beside me, not above me. He took the hit, put the keys away and said, "Your pace." The twist isn't a ring, it's paperwork. Because love is a story, but custody is a schedule. So I told him if he wanted to be a father, he was going to sign like one. And he did a real co-parenting plan with shared time decisions on schools and doctors, emergency protocols that didn't start and end. With his wallet insurance in place, prescriptions refilled on his watch too, a separate account for the boys, that my pride doesn't have to wrestle with every month. No speeches, just signatures and dates, and the relief that comes when somebody finally takes weight off a shelf you've been holding with your back. We still had to learn the dance, tiny steps, dumb fights like him, loading my old skillet into the dishwasher, and me looking at him like he'd run over my childhood, like me bristling when he bought better sneakers, and him learning to ask first, because better is different from right. When you've taught your kids to love what they have, I'd catch him reading about pediatric asthma at 1 a.m. I'd catch myself watching how his hands fit on their shoulders, without squeezing both of us, pretending not to notice how relieved we were to be noticed. One Sunday, he didn't show up with keys, he showed up with a lease. Not bought rented 2 bedrooms a block from us so the boys could spend the night without sleeping on a couch, so he could do before-school drop-offs without turning it into a production. And he handed me a plain black key on a ring. "Only if you want it," he said, and I took it, because small is how you build big without lying to yourself. And that night, while the ceiling fan clicked and the radio faded between stations, he asked about the house again, not the big one, not Arcadia, just the idea of together, and I said what I meant. I want a family more than a wedding. I want mornings more than a dress. And he laughed and said, he sells sunlight for a living. He can do mornings. Do I forgive him for missing everything from first steps to first ER wristband? Some days, yes, some days I still feel the bruise of it. You know what I mean? But I keep choosing the version of this story where the twins draw 4 people when they draw home, where Gabriel sets his crayons in a neat row on Tyler's desk like he owns half of it, where Michael hands the inhaler to his dad without fear because fear left the room when consistency walked in and sat down. The win wasn't a diamond or a headline. It was a Thursday night when I burned the rice and we ate eggs and tortillas and salsa from a jar and nobody apologized. It was a barbershop. Saturday where Tyler learned our twins will hustle you for 2 lollipops and argue both are legally theirs. It was Helen showing up at my cart in sneakers ordering red chili like she meant it, telling anyone within earshot that her grandson's mother makes the best churros in Los Angeles, and me almost crying over a fryer, because respect sometimes arrives in a sentence you never expected to hear. If you need a tight bow, you won't get it here. Not yet, we're not engaged. We're co-parenting, like we mean it. We're figuring out what together can look like after 5 years of apart. We're teaching 2 little boys that dads can learn and moms can rest. We're trying to be the kind of people our kids already think we are. And if you want a hot take, here's one to fight about. In the comments was, I wrong to hide them, until I could stand on my own feet. Was he wrong to think a house could say what his mouth wouldn't? Does a second chance belong to the person who shows up late with a full wallet? Or to the person who kept the lights on without one? Tell me where you stand. Tell me if love owes us punctuality, or just proof. And if you've had to fight other people's opinions to protect your kids, drop family, so the rest of us know we're not alone.